Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning. Lesson number 120. That's the final lesson of this textbook. We couldn't have hardly imagined when we started way back in August, 1st of September, that we could get here, but we've arrived. Lesson 120. Here's kind of the overview of finishing out here now for this year is we will do this lesson 120. I'm just going to do 4 problems for you on that one, and then you can go to your reviews. Sometime here today, hopefully I'm going to try to put the review on to help you with some of those problems. And then you can take the test immediately after. If you would get this all done and turn it in to the reviews and the test, by tomorrow afternoon, I'll score it over the weekend. If not, I would require you to have it done by Friday evening. And then if I can have those turned in, I will score those all over the weekend. So it's kind of, you're on your own schedule somewhat, but do finish up by Friday evening for sure. All right, here we go on lesson 120. First thing I'm going to tell you to do is we can skip some on lesson 120. Skip number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 7. You may wonder why number 4, that is such a big number that most of our small calculators won't calculate that number. I'm sure you could get it without that, but we'll just skip number 4 also. So there's your skip, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. I'm going to simply work out 10, 11, and 12, 10, 11, 12, 13. Number 10 is the quadratic formula. Do you remember the quadratic formula? You need to memorize this. Your test is coming up. You need to memorize this for sure. And here it is. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared negative 4ac over 2a times a. There you go. So and then we write out the equation that they give us in descending order, and I have a negative x squared. That's going to be a negative 6x, and a negative 2 equals x equals 0. Always put these in this order to be able to solve for these. And if you remember, this number is a, and it's understood to be a 1. If it's not there, this number is the b, and this number is a c. So my a's, I'll fill those in. This is a position of an a, and this is a position of the a. The b's are negative 6 and a negative 6, and the c is a negative 2. And now I begin to work this all out. So I have opposite of negative 6 is a positive 6, plus or minus. Negative 6 times negative 6 is a 36, and 4 times 2 is 8. They got 2 negatives, so this is a positive 8. 36 plus 8. I'm sorry, we have 3 negatives. That makes this a negative 8. That's going to leave us with, total of this is 28. Square root of 28. I think 28 can probably be reduced. Let's see if we can. 28, simplified, I mean to say 2, 14, 2, and 7. It can be. 2 to the square root of 7. So I'll rewrite all this. Ready? Here, this is a positive 6, plus or minus, right here. And 36 minus 8 is a square root of 28. Simplified is the 2 to, is 2 to the square root of 7 over 2 times negative 1 is a negative 2. Get rid of some of this so I have a little room. Can we reduce this? We can. The 2 will go into all of these, so this 2 goes into this as a positive 3 plus or minus 2. This can be reduced down to a 1, which 1 to the square root is, I'm really having a time this morning. 1 to the square root of 7 can just be eliminated. Take care of that, and this becomes a negative 1. Now we don't want to leave this in this form. If it be a positive 1, we could get rid of it. What we can do is put our negative, this can become a -3, and we get rid of this right here. Finally, there is our answer for number 10. Number 11 is still the quadratic formula, so we'll do that again. Memorize this and memorize it. You should be able to do just like I'm going to do here now. It's going to be a -b plus or minus square root of b squared negative 4 times a times c over 2 times a. And now I write out my formula. I have, if I do it in descending order, I have an x squared. This is on number, this is on number 11. I have a 2x squared negative 7x negative 4 equals 0. 2x squared negative 7x negative 4, okay? And then remember, this is my A, this is the B, and this is a C. So I'll put 2 where the A's are at, and B is a -7 and a -7, and C is a -4. Makes sense? Do my math now. Opposite of -7 is a +7, plus or minus. -7 times -7 is a +49. 4 times 4 is 16, times 2 is 32. And I have 2 negatives, so it's a +32. 49 plus 32 equals 81, square root of 81. And this 2 times 2 is a 4. Now we'll rewrite it to simplify all this mess up here. I can see a +7 plus or minus square root of 81. And the square root of 81 is a 9. Erase that, just put the 9 there. Over 2 times 2 is 4. This particular one is going to be able to simplify some more. So I have a +7. First off, let me just get this out of the way so you're not confused. 7 plus 9 is 16 over 4. We can simplify this later. Now it's plus or minus, so I'm going to take this off so it seems simple to you. 7 -9 is a -2 over 4. Simplify, these are your two answers. 16 over 4 is +4. -2 over 4 is a -1/2. There are your answers for that. Know the quadratic formula well. Know it well. Number 12. This is completing the square. Sometimes a bit more difficult. Let's rewrite this. -x squared +7x -5 equals 0. We're completing the square, so we start off, we must get rid of this negative. Get rid of the negative, it's going to change these two signs. Is that right? So now I'm going to have a x squared -7x and a +5 equals 0. Now I'll immediately take care of this +5, put it on the other side. It becomes a equals -5. And now begin to complete the square. To complete the square, the first step, remember this is about steps. First step is to put a 2 under this. Now I have a 7 over 2. Second step is to square this. Step by step by step, we square that. 7 times 7 is a 49. 2 times 2 is a 4. Then we add these together. I just put this denominator here. Now we got to get a common denominator, which is 1 and 4 is going to be a 4. That changes this to a 20. So now I have a -20 plus a 49. That is going to finalize into being a differently here. 20, negative 20 plus 49 is a positive square root of, how am I messing it up? 29 over 4. And we square root this. 29 cannot be reduced, but the 4 can. The square root of 4 is 2. Ready to, that's done for the on the right side. Now we're ready to rewrite it. Again, we look at the x squared and we go x. We use this fraction right here and it is reduced. Negative 7 over 2 equals this 29 over 2. One more time. Here's your final now. Ready for this. X equals, I'm moving this to the other side. That's a 7 over 2 plus or minus every time square root of 29 over 2. And there's where that's our final answer. Completing the square. One more like this. This number 13 again is completing the square. Rewrite it. I have an x squared, negative 3x, and it's a negative 4 equals 0. Immediately I'll put the 4 on the other side, equals positive 4. Completing the square, step number 1. Always keep this in mind, step by step by step. Number 1, place the 2 under the 3. Number 2, step number 2, square this fraction. Negative 3 times negative 3 is a 9. 2 times 2 is a 4. Step number 3 is we add these together. We have to get a common denominator. The common denominator is 4. That changes this to a 16. Add these together. 16 plus 9 is 25 over 4. Square root this. Square root of 25 is a 5. Square root of 4 is a 2. So we have a fraction. Next step, x squared, we will rewrite it as a x. And we use this fraction. It's a negative 3 over 2, just like it stands there. Negative 3 over 2 equals plus or minus 5 over 2. Next step is to move this number to the right side so that x is isolated. X equals 3 over 2. Again, I took this number, moved to the other side. Plus or minus 5 over 2. There's where we are normally through, but in this case we have an addable or subtraction denominators. So 3 over 2, this always seems like it gets into the student's head, so I'm going to erase this, solve it this way first. 3 over 2 plus 5 over 2 is a 8 over 2. And I do the minus, plus or minus. Remember we had the plus or minus, negative. So now I got a negative 5 and a positive 3. That's going to be a negative 2 over 2. We need to simplify this. 8 divided by 2, answer is 4. And negative 2 over 2 is a negative 1. There we came down to the final answer. If you can remember the steps, these are simple. The step by step by step. So you can go back and review these if you get lost in the shuffle. That is lesson 120. I'm going to quit there, and again, you can hopefully within a couple hours you can pull up the review. I'll have that today yet, and you can go through that. Go through your reviews, get yourself all ready, and go ahead and take the test. And we are through.